As an introduction to Inventor, you're going to create what we're going to call a Clevis pin assembly, and the result of what you're going to create is going to be 4 different parts all put together into an assembly. So we've got a clevis, a pin, a key, and a lever, and a pin over on the other side as well. Sorry, a key, not another pin. There's just one pin. You're going to create all of this by creating the parts first, then bringing them into a separate type of file called an assembly file, and that's where I'm at right now. And within this, you'll be able to put the parts together and create an animation that shows how they work together. So by one lever turning, it turns the pin and the other lever, etc. And now what we'll do is we're going to start into creating the first part, which is going to be the clevis. So to do that, you're going to open up Inventor. So you'll go to the Start button and go to All Programs, look for Autodesk folder, and then you're going to look for Autodesk Inventor, and then Autodesk Inventor 2014, and then you'll look for Autodesk Inventor Professional, and the program should open up there. Once you're into the program, then you're going to go to New, File. So you're going to get a screen that looks something like this, and we're going to begin working in English units, so inches and feet. So click on inches, and we're going to go to Standard IPT. Notice that there's several different types of files here. We've got part files, so as we create things, each part is created in a separate file. So the clevis will be in one file on its own, the lever will be in a separate file, the pin will be in a separate file, and so on. Then you're going to have an assembly file, then we'll create a drawing file. And there is also a presentation file where you can do an exploded view, but we're not going to make use of that this time. So we're going to create these 3 different types of files. And so to begin with, we'll create the standard inch IPT file. Double click on it, and a new file opens up. And what we're going to be creating, if you go to your D2L and go to the Inventor, go down to Inventor, Intro Assignment, Clevis Assembly, you will find a drawing. It's called Drawing Clevis Parts Dimensions, and if you click on that file, you'll find all the dimensions for the different parts, and then you'll find the different tutorials as well. So we're going to create this part to begin with. So I'm going to go back to Inventor, and we start here. Along the top, we've got a menu bar. Then we've got our ribbons, which are different than the AutoCAD ribbons. We've got this feature tree area, which is really important, and we've got our drawing area. So to begin with, what we do is we create a sketch. So Inventor tries to mimic the way somebody would design something on a piece of paper. They would probably sketch it out first, then they would put dimensions to it and create a final product from that. So what we do is we go to Create 2D Sketch. Then this opens up. I'm going to pick a plane. I'm going to pick the XY plane. So I just move my cursor near it. As I move to each plane, it allows me to select it. So I'm going to select the XY plane. And now I'm in sketch mode. Notice that the ribbon along the top has changed, and I've got things that I can draw, such as lines and arcs, somewhat similar to AutoCAD. I've got dimensioning, I've got constraints. These are going to be useful things that you'll get to know along the way. Other modifying commands, such as patterns, we can do arrays and mirrors and move, trim, etc. And so let's just get things started here. So we've got to create this object. So I want to create an object that is 12 long, and I'm going to not bother with the arcs right now. I'm just going to draw it as if it didn't have these fillets in it, because I can fillet them later. So I'm going to draw it 12 long and then 4 up, and then I'm going to put in an arc that is going to be, I'm going to go up to 8 inches and 3/4, and I'll put in an arc. So I'm just going to sketch this out to begin with. Nice thing in Inventor is that we can go back and change dimensions afterwards. So I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to start it at the origin, and I can now just go ahead and draw my line and finish it. And I'm going to just finish that. I'm going to redo it again in a minute, but notice that I didn't identify what the size of that line was. I'm going to go up and dimension it. So I go up to the dimension button and select the line and just pull out the dimension. So it made it 0.72 inches long. I want it to be 12 inches long. I can type in 12 and it resizes for me. Now, using the roller ball on the mouse and pressing down on it, I can pan or zoom. And now I can see my entire line. Okay, so I can either draw something out a specific distance to begin with, or I can just sketch it out and then draw it, dimension it afterwards. I'm just going to click on it and delete it, just to show you how I can input the information when I'm drawing it if I happen to know it. In this case, I do. And so this time what I'm going to do is to draw the line knowing the distance. So I'm going to go back up to the line command. I'm going to start again at the origin, and I'm just going to draw this out. And notice that if I move along, I get an image just below my cursor and to the right. It tells me that I'm running parallel to the axis there. So that's what I want. I don't have an ortho command like I do in AutoCAD. I'm going to type in the distance, and notice that it goes in at the box. Now I can hit enter, and now I'm going to draw up. I want to go up 4 inches, so I'm going to go straight up 4 inches. Notice that down just below the line that the first line that I drew, there's a perpendicular symbol. It's telling me that the line that I'm drawing right now is going to be made perpendicular. So I'm going to type in 4. Then I'm going to go across a little bit. Now I'm going to do it just by sketching. I'm not going to bother to worry about dimensions. I'm going to draw straight up. I'm going to go, straight to the left, straight up. And then if I press and hold my left mouse button, it will allow me to draw an arc. So now I can come across and notice that it tells me when I'm reaching even with the other end of the arc. And so I created my arc. Now I can come down. If I go near the other end, it's almost like O-track in AutoCAD. I can set up my line to be the same length as the other line. Now I want this one to be in parallel with this one, so I'm going to bring this up, and when I get that little dashed line, I know that I'm even with it. And then I'm going to finish off my shape by going down and clicking back at the origin again. And now I'm going to escape to get out of that command. I don't like where this dimension is right now, so I'm just going to drag it out of the way. Okay, and because I had put in the distances for these two, notice that they are both dimensioned and the lines are blue, which means that they're constrained. Constraining something means that you've given it limits, or you've made it so that it can't, that it is a specific distance or angle, etc. So these two lines are constrained. This is constrained because it's parallel to this one, and this is also constrained. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up so that the center of this arc is at the midpoint of this line. And to do that, I'm going to use a constraint. I could use this, there's different ways to do this, but I'm going to use this vertical constraint. You should just hover over these things and find out what they are and try them at different times. So I go to vertical constraint, and then I'm going to click on the the center of the radius, and then I'm going to go down here, and when I get to the midpoint of the line, I get this green dot. Click on that, and now these have been constrained so that even if I was to go and change this dimension, this arc the center of the arc would move with it, so that it's always in line with the midpoint of this line, down at the bottom. So now I need to go and put in some dimensions. I want this arc to be, go back to my drawing, it's supposed to be a radius of 3, and then and this is supposed to be 8 3/4 from the center. So I'm going to go back to here. I want this to be 3, so I can just type in 3 here, and it resizes. I want a dimension. I know the dimension from the center of the circle, to the center of the radius to the bottom edge here. So right now it's not set at 8 3/4, so I'm going to type in 8 space 3/4, or I could type in 8.75. And now I put in my dimension. Notice that as I do this, more things become blue, and that's because they're constrained. A line that is not constrained is left green. So now I've got to go back, and the next thing I want to put in are the fillets. So I'm going to put in these. I'm going to put in this as a separate sketch, so don't worry about the hole for now. So we're going to put in these fillets. So to do that, I'm going to go up and I'm going to go to the fillet command up in here, and I'm going to set my distance. I think it's 1, radius is 1. Enter. Oops, just go back up and set fillet, and now it's set to 1. And now I just got to click on the points that I want to fillet. So there's my first fillet. I'm going to do this one, and I want to do between these two and between these two as well. And now I've got this all filleted. So now I've really got a sketch of what you would term as the profile of our object. So when I take a look at this, if I take a look at the three-dimensional, what I always want to think about is the profile. So this profile that I've just sketched, I can then extrude it, and it's the same all the way through. So I'm going to extrude it, and then what I'll do is I will cut out the hole. So you want to start thinking about the profiles of things. So I'm going to go back to here. I'm now done with my sketch. I've done everything that I need to do here. So I'm going to finish the sketch up in the upper right hand corner of the ribbon. And now I can't see very much. I can either zoom, or an easy way to show everything is to click on the home button right here. And now that shows me an isometric view of what I've got drawn, and it shows me everything. So it's like zoom extents. I can rotate around by using this cube. I can pick faces, and it'll turn for me. Okay. And I'm going to go back to the home one. And so now what we need to do is we need to turn that into a 3D object. Realize that these dimensions will not end up on a drawing. So it doesn't matter what they look like or where they're placed. The other thing you should be aware of is that at any time I can go back and change these dimensions, and it will change all the way through anywhere that it would affect. So it'll change on the in the part, it'll change in the assembly, it'll change on the drawing when we create it, and that's the power of using something like Inventor. It makes making changes very, very easy. So now I'm going to click on the sketch over in the tree. Notice that it's created sketch 1. I could name these, and it would be a good idea to do so. But notice what I've got here. I've got part 1. That's the name of the part so far. I'm going to click on that and double click into it, and then I'm going to change that and call this Clevis. I want it to be the name of the part. Eventually I'm going to create an assembly with a parts list, and it's going to take the name of the parts from the file here. So if I click here, notice that now instead of saying part 1 up here, it now says Clevis. Okay, so I've got the origin. That shows me my XY plane, my YZ plane, XZ plane, XY plane, and my axes as well, right? And a center point. It shows me the center point down in here. So you should just be aware of how to make use of this tree. I can plus, and you're going to need to get used to using this tree to select different things. So I'm going to click on the sketch now, and I'm going to go up here. I want to extrude this thing. So I'm going to click on the extrude button, and it opens up this dialog box. Because I had selected this sketch, and it's the only sketch that it can use, it will figure out for me the profile. If there were multiple things, and you'll see this in the next one, I would need to go and select the profile. So now what I can do is set the distance. So I want the distance to be 8 inches deep. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to type in 8. And notice that it has extruded it out from the plane that we were working on. I could change the direction and have it extrude in the other direction. Or, and this is probably the best for what we're going to be doing, is use symmetric. That way I'm going to have my XY plane is going to be running right down the middle of it, and that's going to be useful to us later. So I'm going to do symmetric, although it is always something that you can go back and change, or you could do otherwise by creating your own work planes. So again, lots of ability to change things later. I'm going to say OK, and now I've got my object. And notice that now over here, instead of it saying sketch, it's now extrusion, because we've done, that's called a feature. We've created a feature, and if I click on the plus sign, there's my sketch. If I want to make a change to something in the sketch, I could right click on it and do Edit Sketch. Now I could go and change. I'm just going to make this obviously different. So I'm going to double click on this and I'll make it 15 inches. Now it's much taller. I'll finish my sketch and notice that it updates in the extrusion. I'm just going to undo that. And now I'm back to where I was. So the other thing I can do is I can edit my extrusion at any time. I can right click on the extrusion over in the tree here and go to Edit Feature, and I could go and change the distance, change how the extrusion is being done, symmetric or from plane to plane, etc. I can make all these changes and I can do them as I work through things and see what I need to change. So now I've got my part partly made, and then the next thing I need to do is to put in the hole. So to do that, I'm going to create a sketch of a circle and then extrude that. There are other ways to do it. You can use a hole here and so on, but just to try doing it this way to begin with. So create sketch, create 2D sketch. Doesn't seem like anything's happened. I have to tell it what plane I'm going to create my sketch on. So I'm going to select this front plane here. And notice that I go back into sketch mode, and now I'm able to sketch on that front face. So I'm just going to make a circle. Okay, I won't worry about the size for now, and then I can go back and dimension it, or I could have typed in the diameter while I was creating it. So I want it to be 4. So I'm going to go back and dimension this, and I want it to be 4. Okay, now I've got that circle. That's all that I need. I can finish my sketch, and notice that I've got a sketch on there. And notice that now I've got a sketch here. I've got sketch 1, which is in the extrusion. It's really consumed within the feature here. And then I've got sketch 2. I'm going to click on sketch 2 and go to extrude. Now it's looking for the profile. So now I come over here. I could select this part, or I could select this part. I'm going to select the cylinder. And now what it would do is it would create a cylinder attached to this part. And that's not what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for this one, which is, so this is join. And that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this one here, which is cut. I'm going to move my mouse over that one. This one is join, cut, and intersect. So I'm going to click on the cut button, and I could tell it the distance to go 8 through, but I'm actually better for in this case just to say extends through all. All right, so it's going to cut a hole all the way through. And I don't need to worry about the plane in this instance. So I can say, okay, and now I've got a hole going through my clevis. And the next thing I want to do is to go and put some materials to this. So I'm going to go to Tools, go to Appearance. And I'm going to select a material for my clevis. I'm going to use, let's just use brass for now. So I double click on brass. It'll take a second for it to open up. And what that does, it doesn't actually put it onto the material yet. It just loads it into this file. So I'm going to close that. Notice now up in the library here, I've got the default material and the one that I've just added. Now what I could do is I could select a particular face and add. So I clicked on the face and then I double clicked on the material, and notice that now that face has that material to it. But I want the whole thing to have that material. So I could either select everything and go and select that there, or even easier is just to go over into the tree, click on the part right up at the top. That selects the whole thing, and select on the brass, close it, and now I can close this, and now I've got my part completely made. I've got the hole, I've got materials to it. I can spin it around and look at it, make sure that it looks correct, and this is now a complete file. So this is your tutorial for learning how to do your very first part. You can look at the tutorial on how to create the pin, and then you should be able to create the other 2 parts all on your own, and then you'll be able to carry on to the next tutorials on how to create the assembly, etc. So I hope you enjoy using Inventor. It's a little bit different in how it works, but it is a great program to work with.